Good morning class, Sairam. Today we are going to start our next chapter, that is laws of motion. In the previous chapter we have learned about velocity, we learned about acceleration, then we got to know about relation between final velocity and initial velocity and acceleration, like v equal to u plus at. Similarly, we have done relation, that is s equal to ut plus half at square. Okay, and same like that we got one more relation, that was v square equal to u square plus minus 2as. Now these were this was kinematics actually, or what we can say, what is kinematics? Kinematics is the study of velocity, acceleration and time. Okay, and you can say displacement also. Or study of all such factors is called kinematics. Means we are studying about those factors which are responsible for motion of any body. Okay, study of such factor is called what? That is kinematics. Now we will go for dynamic, you can say, or basically we will study now the cause of this motion. Okay, what we will study in this chapter, that will be our cause of motion. And you know what is the cause of motion? That is a force. Whenever you apply force, only then motion is possible. So in this chapter we will study in detail about different laws of motion. Okay, here in introduction it is saying that it is not necessary that we should have any force that should act on a particular body. Okay, so if you are applying some amount of force any particular body, then there is a possibility that this particular body or object can move. Okay, so such kind of forces are called contact forces, but it is saying that it is not a necessary condition. We have second kind of force, that is called field force, and in this field force basically we don't touch the body, and without contacting the body it can move. Like its two types are, one is gravitational force, you can understand, and second is magnetic force. Here you can see that it is mentioned that this external agency, this is not always necessary. Okay, when a stone is released from the top of a building, it accelerates downward due to the gravitational pull. Here you can see it is asking about magnet also. So in these two conditions, actually without contacting, you can make your body to move in a particular direction. After that we study the Aristotle's fallacy, or you can say Aristotle's study. What is the Aristotle law? He said that an external force is always required to keep a body in a uniform motion. If you want that a body should move in a particular direction or in a particular way, then some kind of external force is always required for that condition. Okay, then next we have law of inertia. According to this law, what we have, that if any object is moving with a particular speed, then it will keep on moving, okay, until we don't apply any external force to resist its motion. Similarly, if any particle is at rest or any object is at rest, then it will be at rest only. Okay, it cannot move until we apply any external force. So this is the law of inertia. To prove this, we have different examples. Suppose if any body is moving in such a way, okay, or suppose it is rising, then at a certain point it will stop. Why it will stop? Because there is some kind of force, that is called gravitational force, that is acting on this particular body, and it will try to stop it. Okay, and similarly in horizontal road, you can say if your object is moving, then it may stop due to some external friction force. Until you don't have any friction force, then it will keep on moving. Like we can consider an example of our planetary motion, in which Earth is moving. Okay, Earth is moving around the sun, and it will keep on moving because there is no external force on its path which is trying to stop it. Okay, this is law of inertia. Then we have the first topic, Newton's first law of motion. Basically from here we will start our chapter, and Newton's first law of motion resembles with the law of inertia. It says the same thing, that is, if the net external force on a body is 0, then its acceleration is 0, and acceleration can be non-zero only if there is a net external force. After that, he gave different examples that why a book on a table is at rest, because no external force is acting. Okay, net external force is acting. Actually, some gravitational force will act on this book, that is mg, but some reaction force is also acting. Okay, and both are equal, so body is not moving. However, in case of car, you can say you are applying some kind of energy, that is mechanical energy, and that mechanical energy is making this car to move in a particular direction. Then here some common examples are given for inertia, that why we feel jerk. Okay, why we feel jerk when a moving bus or moving car suddenly stops. You know that when a moving car suddenly stops, then its velocity becomes 0. And suppose one person is sitting on this bus and he is also moving along with this bus. Then his legs are in contact with the floor of the bus. So whenever your driver will apply the brake, okay, so his leg will come to the rest because it is in contact with the floor of the bus. But his upper body will keep on moving. That's why he will feel jerk in forward direction. Similarly, if bus suddenly starts its motion, then he feel jerk in backward direction. Next topic we have momentum. So what is momentum? Momentum is basically defined as mass into velocity, as you can see here, that P equal to m into V. Suppose if you have any object that has mass 10 kg and it is moving with constant velocity, that is say 10 meter per second, okay, then its momentum is called as 10 kg into 10 meter per second, that is 100 kg meter per second. Okay, so this momentum is actually related with the Newton's second law of motion. You can see that Newton's second law of motion is what? It says that the force on any particular body is defined as change in momentum with respect to time. Suppose a body is moving, its mass is m and it is moving with initial velocity u, and after some time its mass will be same but its velocity suppose is v. And from here, from initial position to final position, time taken is small t. So if I ask you what is the initial momentum of the body, you will say mass into initial velocity. And what is the final momentum of the body? That will be mass into final velocity. If I ask you what is the change in momentum, okay, what is change in momentum? Delta P. So you will say that delta P equal to final momentum minus initial momentum. Then according to Newton's second law of motion, it says that change in momentum, that is mv minus u or mv minus mu in per unit time or its rate will be equal to mv minus u upon t, and it will be mass into acceleration, and it is equal to force acting on that body. So some common examples are given which are used in daily life, which are based on Newton's second law of motion. Suppose a player is playing cricket and he tried to catch the ball, then he takes time to carry this catch so that he can minimize the amount of force exerted by ball on his hand. Okay, so how he does so? He actually takes time to move back his hand from initial position, say 1 to 2. Okay, from here to here he increased time. Okay, so we know that force is given by dp by dt. Okay, if you will change or if you will increase the time, okay, you are dividing some numerator by a higher number, then your force will be lesser. So this formula we have proved. Here you can see that force is directly proportional to delta p by delta t, and this coefficient k is equal to 1 actually. So next you can see in your NCERT book that dp by dt is d upon dt of mv, and that formula comes out to be k times ma, and by default k is 1. By experiment we can say, and for that we can put f equal to ma. So till here we have done. Now we have three component of forces, that is fx, that is force in horizontal direction. So it will be defined as change in momentum in horizontal direction dpx upon dt, or it is written in form of max. Similarly, we have force in y direction, that is change in momentum in y direction may, and force in z direction will be maz. In this example, it is saying that a bullet of mass 0.04 kg is moving with some speed 90 meter per second, enters a very heavy wooden block. It stops after a distance of 60 centimeter. So what we will do, we will try to calculate first acceleration, okay, and then it is saying how much is the average resisting forces acting on that block or bullet. So basically how we calculate acceleration, that is v square equal to u square plus minus 2s. You know it. For resistivity or for negative acceleration, we will put negative sign. Then final velocity is 0 because your block will stop, and then your acceleration you can calculate, that is u square upon 2 times of s. It is taking negative because at last it will say that this acceleration is in reverse direction. So if you will put the value initial velocity 90 square divided by 2 times of s, you will get this much answer. Then what is the force? You know, force is given by mass of bullet into acceleration or retardation. So it will come out 270 Newton. Second, we have that next example we have the motion of particle is given, m of mass m is given by this formula, that y equal to ut plus half gt square. So it is basically asking about vertical motion, that is s equal to ut plus half at square, but in vertical direction. So s will be denoted by y, and your acceleration will be replaced by g. So it is asking about calculate force. Okay, we know that force should come out mg only because that is a gravitational force. So how we calculate force? First of all, we will calculate velocity. So velocity is differentiation of y with respect to time. You get u plus gt, or the first equation. Now acceleration is what? That is again dv over dt. Again you have to differentiate this. U is constant, its differentiation is 0, and differentiation of t is 1. For t differentiation is 1. So we will have answer, that is g only. So our force will be mass into acceleration, that is mg. Now next topic we have, that is called impulse. Now try to understand what is impulse. Impulse is basically your force into time. Impulse is a physical quantity that is given by force into time duration, okay, and it is also equal to change in momentum. So with an example we will try to understand it. Suppose a person is playing cricket and he has bat in his hand. Suppose a ball comes and ball hit the bat, or you can say bat hit the ball. Both are correct thing. Then in that case the contact time between ball and bat, that is very short, and in that case we calculate impulsive force actually. And what is that impulsive force? Impulsive force means very large forces. That impulsive force will be force multiplied by that time duration, okay, or you can say this is your impulsive force, or you can say impulse only. Impulse equal to force into delta t. With the help of this example you can understand. A batsman hits back a ball straight in the direction of the bowler without changing its initial speed of 12 meter per second. So if the mass of the ball is given, determine its impulse imparted to the ball. So we know that impulse is given by force into delta t. Either you can say force into delta t, or you can say force is basically what? Force is change in momentum upon time. So this time to time will be cancelled out. So we can say that impulse equal to change in momentum, that is final momentum minus initial momentum. Now final velocity is negative, so we will take it, or you can say mv into, you can consider any value negative. Say this initial velocity I have taken negative, then 2 times of mass into velocity. Okay, so mass will remain same, that is given 0.15. This is value of m, and here you can see this has taken negative sign, then again it has taken 2 times negative sign. Okay, this is m into v, initial velocity 12 meter per second, then minus into minus of mb, because one velocity you have to consider negative. If you consider left side velocity positive, then right side velocity will be negative. So final answer will come out 3.6 Newton. Then we have next law, that is called Newton's third law of motion. So what is it? It says that every action has equal and opposite reaction. It means to say, suppose if you kept any particular object on any surface, suppose this is ground, and you put 10 kg mass on this surface, then force applied by this block on the ground, that force will be 10 into 10, or you can say 100 Newton. Okay, 100 Newton is the weight of this object, and that force is acting on the ground. Then this ground will also give some kind of reaction to this block, and that reaction force is again 100 Newton. Now why these two forces are equal? Because you will see that your object is neither moving into the ground or nor it is moving in upward direction. It is at rest basically. Anything that is kept on any table or ground that is at rest means net force on this object should be 0. Only then we can say that object is at rest. So for net force should be 0, we should have upward reaction equal to weight of the object, that is 100 Newton. And here is that law, the third law of motion. To every action there is always an equal and opposite reaction. And some important condition, it is saying that condition number 1 for action reaction force, that is force always occurs in pair, means there should be two forces, one on ground and other on body. Okay, and these should be in pair, and A by B should be equal and opposite. This is the condition of action reaction pair. Next condition, it is saying that the term action and reaction in the third law may give a wrong impression that action comes before reaction. Okay, that is action is the cause and the reaction is the effect. This is the wrong impression. Actually it is saying that suppose if you have any ground, so it is not necessary, many of us think that this object will apply some amount of weight on this ground, then this ground is actually trying to provide some kind of reaction. So reaction is a effect and action is a cause. This is not necessary, because if we see this phenomena in broader aspect, then we can say that this is our earth. Okay, and earth is actually trying to pull or trying to attract any object. When you will study gravitational, you will study chapter gravitation. In that chapter you will learn that any two objects in the universe attract each other with some amount of force, gm1 m2 upon r square, and that is equal to mg weight of any object. So the fact is that earth is also attracting to this body, and this body is also attracting to earth, but mass of the earth is very very large compared to that body, so we can't see any displacement in earth position. However, both objects are applying acting force on each other and both are providing reaction force. In vector form we can write FAB equal to minus times of FBA. Suppose if this object is applying 100 Newton force in downward direction, so we will write it minus 100J. Suppose this is first force, and other force or reaction force you can say that is F2, that is also 100 Newton in magnitude, but this 100 Newton is towards plus J. So we cannot say that F1 is actually equal to F2 in vector form. Okay, both vector are not equal because one vector is in downward direction and other is in upward direction. So that's why it is using a negative sign. Okay, here it is trying to mention in vector form. So this is all for today. In next lecture we will try to see how to solve numerical based on conservation of momentum. Thank you. Sai Ram.